So to transfer this pattern, trace over the pattern. When we look at the depth and the layering, about halfway down, draw a line, and then we're going to divide this front into two more sections. So the top we're going to call 0. That's where we're not going to remove any stock. This is level 1, level 2, and then level 3 is halfway into it. Sky will be the deepest. That's going to be the level 3. Level 2 is going to be the mountains coming down. This will start at about a level 2, maybe a little deeper, and come out to a 0. So that will be sloped in. And right now we're going to layer the bear at level 0. So it'll be level 0 all the way across the front and the bear. So we're going to start with the deepest portion, and we're going to be going down halfway to level 3. Layering the sky down to level 3. This was at level 2 right here, and so where we drew the lines to begin with was level 3. We're just about down there with the sky, and this is the mountains, so we're down there. Now we're going to go from 0 down to 2. That is the water. And doing the stop cut to outline the bear so I can start doing the rounding. I need to know where the water is going to be, so we're starting from a depth of 0. In other words, I'm not going to take anything off of here down to a depth of 2. Doing this stop cut, I'm trying to go from shallow down to deep. Now this leg is going to be going into the water right at about this depth, so I'm just meeting right where I have the slope. Now this leg I'm coming in a little deeper. This paw here is going to be up off the water. This one is going to be in the water, and not very deep because this is the furthest one out. So that's going to be about the depth right there. I am trying to make all my lines, the stop cuts, vertical, straight down. So when I do the rounding and I go down a little bit past this, I maintain the same size. So we can start contouring the mountains, taking a large number 3 and just kind of rocking it and doing some broad cuts. We're going to make some foothills here. In contouring the bear especially, you want to look to make sure you don't have any flat spots. I experiment with little different rolling of the gouge, little different directions to see what effects I can get. In this little horizon area here at the base of the mountain, it's on the other side of the lake. I'm just rocking a V-tool. So I've got a V-tool that I'm just creating some of the trees. I don't have a big difference in the layering. They're all about the same. Just one is just slightly in front of the other. Looking at the reference here, I'm going to texture the bear before I put the texture in the water. So I'm going to take the V-tool and put in some detail on the face there. So the eyes, just take the V-tool and outline the eyes. Putting in the holes for the nostrils on the... Now I like to put in textures by rocking the chisel. Well, the texture on the body is quite heavy, but the texture on the snout is lighter. So I'm just going to take a number 3 fishtail gouge. Any gouge that's like a number 3 small would work pretty good. And just rock that chisel. Let that chisel just walk across the surface. Where it looks real rough, we're just going to take a skim cut and take off those whiskers, just like this here. I'll take the V-tool and make in the details for the claws. So we're going to start putting in the water texture. Now here, this paw is up in the air, so I'm going to just put in a shadow underneath. And I'm going to just take the V-tool, and to help make the ripples, I am going to do a little rocking of the V-tool. Now here the water is shallow because we can see the claws. Now I have a veiner, a number 11, that I'm just going to be adding the texturing. The ripples are going to be much heavier in the foreground. In the background, they're just going to be a few ripples. Okay, we're getting ready to put the finish on, and I've worked with the skew chisel getting some more lines to increase the area where the varnish will soak in to make the reflection darker. And I've also come across the hair. And so the skew chisel is kind of like a knife. And I'm just taking the point, I'm not removing any stock, but just increasing the amount of varnish that's going to go in and make it a little bit darker and create lines that are in the direction of the hair. Finishing process, I'm using clear varnish. I put clear varnish on the back and on the sides. I'm wearing gloves. The varnish that I use is a Minwax Helmsman Indoor-Outdoor Spar Varnish. I'm using a gloss, but I added a powder to it, and that takes the shine off. So it's a flat finish. First thing I do is the same as I did on the back side and the sides, is I put just a coat of the clear. Then into this clear coat I will put a oil paint that will bring out the shadows. The oil paints that I am going to use is a Grumbacher. This is a burnt umber. That is the shade I would like to get into the shadows. And I just squeeze just a little bit onto my calling card as a slick finish. So I'm just going to put a little bit on there. So I just put a little bit on my brush. The varnish is wet. So I'm just going to start building some shadows. The varnish brush, and I'm going to blend all that in. So I'm going to put a little bit more varnish, wet varnish, on my brush and just start blending it. Varnish is a very good extender for artist oils. They both mix very well, very compatible with one another. If you just use the artist oils it takes a long time for it to dry, several days. This artist oils that are mixed with the varnish, it will be dry by tomorrow. Wait for it to dry, then I'm going to take a 220 grit sandpaper, and I haven't sanded it yet. I did a little bit of scraping to get some of the big whiskers off, but there's still some small whiskers in there. Smooth it off, then I'm just going to put a clear coat of varnish, the same clear varnish that I used for the first coat.